Okay. So I was saying that in the last class we talked about AI development frameworks, and we had an overview of some of those frameworks, including Langchain, Llama Index, True AI, and AutoGPT. AutoGPT. And today we are going to look at Langchain in a bit more detail, and we'll try to use Langchain in building, doing some LLM orchestration, building LLM-based code, LLM-based application. Well, just playing around with building LLM chains using Langchain. So far, does anybody have any question from the last class? Any question related to the agent development frameworks that we talked about? Does anyone have any question about that? Something we need to clear before we move into today's class? If there's no question, can someone help us to do a summary of what we talked about in the last class? No volunteer?
I can try, sir.
Okay, please go ahead, sir.
All right, sir. That day you introduced us to the AI agent development framework, and there are three aspects to it: the planning and reasoning, the memory, and the action execution. And these three components, so to say, form the frameworks for developing AI agents, and that they provide tools for building such. And you went further to give us four, like you mentioned, Langchain, Llama Index, True AI, and AutoGPT. That either of them could function mutually exclusive at the same time. That we don't have to use all of them together. So maybe depending on the use case we are handling. And based on some little research I did also, so over there, you took us through each of them one by one, Langchain, but you said they are all meant for LM orchestration. That's to make things work in building the agentic framework. That's a little I can. Then you told us one by one there are various functionalities. For example, Langchain, you say Langchain will be using for our projects, for our practicals, that there is used for building core abstractions, and the use case could be for building reasoning, pipeline, and multi-step task. More like what you say will be coming to today, the prompt technique of chain prompting, that maybe by the end of one, the output of one will go to the input of the next mode, so to say. So Langchain, I call it that maybe Langchain may mean language chain things together. So that's a bit of the collection.
Okay, that's a good one. Just a clarification. AI development frameworks they provide the tools, they provide the building blocks for creating AI agents, and I said that they allow you to integrate planning and reasoning with memory and action execution. The plan and reasoning in this case refers to the LLM, which are typically the brains, if I may use that term, of AI agents. And I also mentioned that the AI agent development frameworks tends to be Python based, and that they are flexible and extensible. I mentioned that there are platforms and frameworks that are no code and low code, and some are really code based, and the code based ones tend to be more flexible, but then the learning curve also tends to be a bit higher, but that the no code ones um, can also get quite limited when you want to implement complex logic. And typically the no code tools then really tend to just be workflow builders and may not really be used to build agents in the true sense, autonomous agents in the true sense of the term. I tried to give an overview of the different frameworks. We talked about the four of them, talking about what are their major capabilities, what are their core abstractions, what are their primary use cases, and then I provided URLs where you can go to get more information about each of them. Today, we are going to look at, like I said earlier, we're going to look at Langchain. We take a deeper dive into Langchain since that's what we are going to be using for the practicum in our training. So we'll start with the component stack for Langchain. The major components that you would use when building with Langchain are LLMs. Of course, that forms the reasoning core, prompts, which help to tell the LLMs what to do and guide them towards generating the required output. Chains, which involves integrating the different components, typically sequentially, to generate the desired output. Agents, memory, tools, and output passers. I think the one here that we have not talked about at all since we started this training is output passers. We have talked about all these other components here. There are other components anyway, but these are just basically the ones who typically use most of the time. In these, I think there are 7 or so components that are listed here. The one we've not talked about at all would be output passers. And an output passer, essentially, it takes the output of your LLM or of your chain, as the case may be, and formats it in a given way, depending on the specific output passer that you use. We're going to see how output passers are used shortly. May I ask whether there's any questions so far before I continue? Okay, so no question. Now we'll talk about the Langchain expression language. The Langchain expression language, it makes the creation of chains simple, right? A chain is like just from one link to another, so that the output of one component in the chain forms the input to the next component along that chain. And then the output of the final output of the chain is the output of the last component. The input to the chain is the input to the very first component for a simple chain anyway. Chains can get a bit more complex than a simple sequential chain. The Langchain expression language, it enables you to define a chain without writing makes it simple, just provide a simple way of defining a chain, of creating a chain, if you prefer to use that term. And it uses the pipe operator to compose chain components if if you know about the pipe operator, it enables the output of one operation to be fed to become the input of the next operation in a sequence. So that's exactly how the pipe operator works in the case of the Langchain expression language. It allows you to compose a chain such that you link the components together in a pipeline, a sequential pipeline, if I may say, such that the output of each component becomes of the input to the next component in the chain, excuse me. So it allows for, I already talked about that, defining a chain, declarative definition of chains that allows you to combine LLM calls with tools and logic. And it supports, it allows you to provide support for iteration and conditional flow. Now, here you have an example of a chain defined using the Langchain expression language, where this chain involves a prompt as the first component, as the first step, followed by a model, and followed by a parser. Now, the prompt provides the instruction to the model, and the model executes whatever intent is defined in the prompt, generates an output. That output might not be in the format that you want to, in your preferred format. So the job of the parser there is to convert the model's output into the desired format. And so you have a 3-component chain. Now here is some sample code that uses Langchain, including the Langchain expression language, to define. Actually, it's not a very simple chain, because it's really a chain that comprises 2 different chains. If you remember in the last class or so, I think I mentioned that a chain is made up of different components that work sequentially towards achieving the given goal, but that those components can also be chains. I think that was what we were talking about, maybe when we were talking about the core abstractions of Langchain. So you see here that we have 2 subchains, if we may call them that. One is a summary chain that summarizes some text, and then we have a sentiment analysis chain that, given some text, it analyzes and gives you a sentiment, the sentiment contained in that text, and the possible values specified in each prompt are positive, negative, and neutral. Now, the final chain combines these 2 chains with the summary chain as the first component, the first step, and the sentiment chain as the second step. So that final chain, we have called here, I've called it full chain. Essentially, it takes, if you break it down, you have this prompt for the summary chain feeding into the model that executes that prompt, and then a string output parser converts the output to a string, ensures that it's a string, and that string now is fed as the prompt, is fed into the prompt for the sentiment chain. That's the sentiment prompt, which is also executed by the model, and then a string output parser ensures that the output is converted to a string. And so with Langchain expression language, it allows you to compose chains in a modular form. You can break the logic into different subchains, and then you can also use those subchains to compose even more complex chains. this relates to prompt chaining that we talked about. In this case, the task itself is given a large amount, a large volume of text. What you are really trying to get is, what's the sentiment of this text? Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? But given that the text is so large, it may not be so easy for the language model to extract the sentiment from that large text. So the task itself is broken into two steps. First, summarize that text into a smaller length of text. In this case, it has the prompt, summary prompt doesn't really specify a given length, but typically you should specify, maybe summarize into maybe 2 to 3 sentences or something. So your first step is to compress that text, extract the main gist of it, make it shorter, and then it makes that easier for the model to extract the sentiment from it. So you have broken up that problem into 2 steps, and you have prompts for each of those steps. So now you build a chain around each of those prompts, and then you use those 2 different chains, you compose the final chain that executes the entire intent. Any questions so far? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're.
Okay.
Yes,
Is it is it sounding strange? Is it sounding difficult?
It's kind of dramatic, so I'm being patient with it.
Okay. I'd like to know, really.
Sir, I think
Go ahead, please.
I think we are like processing it through our minds, and we are now following the flow. So like there is no cause for alarm here.
Yeah, but I actually need you to fully process it, because at this point you're supposed to fire up your IDEs, because it's time to get our hands dirty with code. So that's why I need us all to be up to speed here, because we are going to first we'll implement we'll write this particular code I have here, and then we are going to progressively improve it. And depending on how much time we have, we can go into even a bit more complexity. So if you have any question about this, ask. If you would like to test your comprehension by trying to give an overview of what we've talked about, that is still fine. But the truth is, in this class, for today's class, I'll be more of a sideline watcher and guiding you. You are the ones that will, very soon I'll stop sharing my own screen. You are the ones that will share your screens. Maybe one person share their screen, and we'll do live coding. Yes, David, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, from this sample chain, now, if I get it right, from the top, we're actually importing Langchain, right?
Well, Langchain core.
Langchain core, okay.
We're importing chat prompt template from Langchain core.prompts. Chat prompt template is an abstraction for creating prompt templates. If you remember, we talked about the core abstractions for each of the agent development frameworks. So chat prompt template is one of the abstractions provided by Langchain. Similarly, we have string output parser, and well, chat Olama comes from the Langchain Olama integration that we also installed in the first week of the class. So continue, David.
Thank you, sir. So then next on these steps, summarize text, analyze sentiment. This is just sample. Does that mean that we can have like several steps before the last step? Like
Yeah,
before the
yeah. Once you're able to decompose the task you want to do, you decompose it into different steps. You can have each step, create a chain for each step, and then you compose those chains into the final chain.
Okay. It's clear. That's all from me. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, Sarah, you want to speak? Go ahead, please. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, so sorry for the background noise. I wanted to ask if the intention was to either just summarize or analyze. How can we write the code?
You can write the code.
Yes,
I don't. Go ahead. I didn't get your question very well. I didn't fully get your question. Are you there? Now you're muted. Okay, I think. Yeah, if your intention is simply to summarize the text, then that's a one-step task, a one-step intent. So you just have the first the summarized chain. That's where it ends. But in this case, the intent is sentiment analysis. But the reason it's broken into two steps is assuming the text that you want to do sentiment analysis on is large, right? It might be difficult to get reliable results from the LLM for the sentiment analysis. So that initial step of summarizing the text is to make it easier, is to make the actual step that gives the desired output, which is the sentiment analysis step, is to make it more reliable. That's why there is a summary step first before the actual sentiment analysis step. Does that adequately answer your question? Okay. Does anyone else have any question, any comment? Yeah, Olanrewaju, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'm trying to process the LCell codes written here. Yes, thank you for the explanation. I can see that some things they call it object-oriented programming, OOP, because I'm seeing from the import statements from Langchain call.prompt import chat. That means we are importing a class from a module. Am I correct, sir? Is it a class from the library now, sir?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, sir. And so for instance, the model equal to chat OpenAI, it's like an instance of one of the, I don't know, but what I can just see here, sir, is that like you said,
No, we're using chat Olama. Is it chat OpenAI that we have there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that is supposed to be chat Olama because.
Okay, I just said the class is not there.
Yeah, it's chat Olama.
Okay, sir.
So you're supposed. Thank you for saying that, because we didn't import Chat OpenAI, so we can use Chat OpenAI. It should be Chat Olama. That's what we imported, because this is supposed to run with the Olama locally hosted model on Olama. The Chat Olama is just a wrapper around an Olama hosted model. So please, this should be Chat Olama, not Chat OpenAI. My bad.
All right. Thank you,
My
sir.
bad. I didn't actually run exactly this code. The code I ran is actually more complex. The code I wrote that I used to do this is actually more complex, but it wasn't a good idea to start with that complex one. So I had to do a somewhat dumbed down version of it, which is what I have here. And I missed changing that to Chat Olama.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. What I want to also ask, sir, is that maybe to kind of know what the first let's say subtask now, the underscore prompts, which is chat prompt template, does from other template, does. Is it that it creates prompt template? Because prompt template that you taught us the last time is such that we have placeholders in places around a large prompt, and such that it can be reusable for so is it that chat prompt template is creating, it will first generate?
Chat prompt templates is a Langchain object that
Okay.
represents a chat prompt template, a prompt template for chats.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, sir.
This is prompt template specifically for chats. Now, the from template method is just telling it generate a chat prompt template from template text. There are other methods. The chat prompt template provides other methods that can also be used to create a prompt template, right? But we already have a prompt template text. Well, I could have actually started with defining the prompt template text. It's a separate variable whose content will be summarize this text and so on. This text here, I could have put it in a variable, and then I just feed that variable to this method, right? So we are creating a chat prompt template, but the method we're using is from template, since we already have a template. And the template here is just like the templates that you created. I think that will be in your last task, right?
Okay, that means we already done the template. Okay, I can see the placeholder there. Okay.
See the templates here. Down in the step 2, I think we also have a prompt template. Yeah, see the placeholder here.
Summary.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means our prompt templates will be first defined.
Yes, of course, you have to have a prompt template to pass. Yeah, assuming you're doing defining. If you're using the from template method, you must already have a template to feed it.
Okay. So that means from this template I'm giving you, then generates a summary.
No, it is from these templates I'm giving you, generate a chat prompt template. Now, that chat prompt template that it generates, which is in the summarized prompt variable, becomes the first component of the chain. And so it is piped into the model.
Yes, sir.
And the model output is piped into the string output parser.
Okay, so it will pass to the chat Llama model. Okay.
Yes, the chat Llama model.
Okay.
So whatever the model it is that you're using, because we had defined the model earlier as this, of course, like I said, this should be chat Llama.
Yes,
so
sir.
It's piped, the summarized prompt template is piped into the model, and then the model output is piped into the string output parser. and the output we expect to get is a summary of the text that was provided, that is provided when you run this chain.
So finally, we now combine the full chain from the
Exactly.
summary and
So
the
yes,
sentiment.
we compose the full chain from the two sub chains.
There's no
Now,
model in between them, sir. I can see the pipe is there. Is there
each chain already has a model.
No, I mean the full chain variable now. So that has summary underscore chain with the SL pipe and the sentiment chain. Is there any operation that happens? Is it just an addition or something?
It's not an addition, it's composition. Composition is a design pattern, right?
Okay.
So like I think I mentioned that LCL allows you to compose chains. So summarized chain contains an LLM. Sentiment chain contains an LLM. Each of these chains is a runnable. So you can pipe them together because the input expected by sentiment chain matches the output generated by summarized chain. So you can pipe them together. It only becomes an issue where the output of the preceding chain of the preceding component doesn't have to be a chain. If the output of the preceding component does not match the expected input, the input that the following component expects, then you have an issue.
Okay,
So
sir.
that's
Also,
also what you have to bear in mind when you're composing chains. The output of any component of that chain should match the expected input of the component following it in the chain. Go ahead with your next question, please.
Okay, sir. Since the output of the preceding chain should be fitable or acceptable to the input of the next chain, I'm looking at the two chains, like the summarized chain and the settlement chain. They both ended with string output parser. I don't know what parsers do, but I think maybe parser used to arrange something in some format that we may not understand. So maybe that output will now enter into the settlement chain. But then even the chain, settlement chain is still having the same output. So I think maybe the last part will not be there. Maybe it will be another format. I don't know.
Have you tried? Okay, you've not tried running. Okay, this is the first time we're going to be using Langchain. So that's one thing I would like you guys to do, right? You just create initialize, say, a chat Olama object, and just invoke it, just run it, give it some prompts. You can take text as input and see what the structure of its output. The output is not just a string. Yes, it contains string, but it contains more than a string. So the string output parser, what it does, that output, the language model typically gives you a JSON output, right? So that output from that JSON output from the model, it goes there to extract the text, the part of the output that's actually the text generated by the LLM in response to the prompt. So it goes to extract that and gives you as an output. It removes all the other things, which, well, they are useful, but in this case, you're only interested in that text. There are other output parsers, right? There's JSON output parser, which gives you a JSON output, but you also need to give it a schema. If you don't give it a schema, it will assume, but the output parsers allow you, like I mentioned, to format the output of the LLM or chain, in this case, to put it in a desired format. In this case, what we want is just a string. So what the string output parser is doing for the summarized chain is ensuring that the model output is formatted into a string, and that's what you get, just that string. And given that the sentiment prompt, what it expects as input is also a string, a text summary. So it expects a text, and the chain before it provides a text. So you can easily pipe that's the text output from the summarized chain into the sentiment chain. And that's why this chain works.
Yes,
Of course, the final output is also passed through a string output passer, because if you look at the by this final output now is the output of the sentiment chain. If you look at the sentiment prompt, you see that it's saying what is the sentiment of the following summary, and it's giving you three options: positive, negative, and neutral. Well, the inference here is you just want a single word: positive, negative, or neutral. So you just want that string. And because the model will typically give you a JSON output, you need to pass and you're only interested in that string. That's why we have the string output passer there to extract that string from the JSON output of the model and just give us that string. Go ahead with the question you were trying to ask,
sir.
please.
Okay, the last question, sir. I'm just no, maybe the way I'm thinking. When I look at the last, the very run that you wrote here, sir, full chain dot invoke test. So I'm thinking maybe the thing will be working backwards, because it means the full chain that we just joined together, the summarize and chain, it will try to fix the test. Well, it seems it will be working backwards. Like, okay, I want to invoke full chain. Full chain is summarized chain, sentiment chain. So you will go and look for where is sentiment chain, right? So you will now go backwards and then fix the test and then run down again. I don't know.
No, sir.
I'm looking at the flow.
The chain starts with summarized chain. So it's going to start from the beginning of the chain. If you look at summarized chain started with summarized prompt.
Yes, sir.
And summarized prompt is a prompt template that has a placeholder called text.
Yes.
If you look at the input when we are invoking the full chain, you see text and it provides a value for it.
Yes, sir.
So it's going to plug that value. I could have called this any other name. I could have called it whatever name, as long as it's not a reserved keyword, right? I could have called it just M. I could have called it just S, for example, even that's not a very good name. I could have just called it S, in which case here, instead of text, I will have S.
It's very
to run. Yeah. The important thing is that you have this dictionary saying that the value of the placeholder in the input prompt is this. So it inserts this value into this point, it replaces this placeholder with that value, and it executes the chain. When it's done executing this first chain, the output will be passed as a string, and that output becomes summary. In string output passer, you can actually specify explicitly that output is called summary in the output passer, right? But it doesn't matter. That's not really the important thing is that it's a string. So whatever string that you pass to sentiment chain is passed to summary. That's why it works.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other question? Any other contribution? Kenneth, please go ahead. Kenneth, you may go ahead, please. Kenneth, you're muted if you're trying to speak. Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay.
and I would like to ask that summary variable.
Sorry, Zara, I didn't get your question.
Yes, the summary variable that.
Okay, Kenneth, just hold on a bit. Let her finish her question because she had already started asking when you were responding.
Yes, in the sentiment prompt variable, that summary.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed where we had it before.
You said, what about the summary?
Yes, I miss where we declare the variable. I believe it has something.
It's
Of
not
the
it's not a variable. It's not a
oh,
variable that you declare. Have you watched the videos of the previous classes?
yes, I did, sir.
The class on prompt templates.
I did.
Okay. So it's not a variable you declare, it's a placeholder in the prompt template.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're not declaring it, you're piping. Remember that in full chain, you're piping the output of summarized chain into
Yes,
sentiment chain. And the
the
output of
summary.
summarized chain is a text. So
Yes,
whatever that output is becomes the value of summary.
summary. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Kenneth, you can speak now. Are you available?
Okay, so I was asking, they compose both chains. So when we call the full chain, do we have access to the summarized chain when it is not available? Then we get the sentiment chain, or now we have both now combined for us to use, because when we pipe, it serves as
Kenneth, I
option.
think you should just type your question in the chat, because there's quite a bit of lag and jitter. So I can't really get your question. Probably network challenges. So maybe you should type it in the chat and I'll read it out from there. So while we're waiting for Kenneth's question in the chat, would you please fire up your IDEs? Would you fire up your IDEs and Kenneth, type your question and I'll respond. Once your question comes to the chat, I'll read it out and respond. So I'm saying this while we're waiting for your question. So let's fire up our IDEs. I assume that, excuse me, we have all installed Python, we have Langchain, and we have Langchain Olama. I assume that. Not we have, excuse me, we have Olama installed, and we have pulled the models that I recommended. You can pull more models if your system can accommodate that. And we need one person that will volunteer to share their screen so that we can run this code live. And it's still waiting for your question in the chat. In the interim, okay, I think he has come in. So which of the IDEs do we use? Any IDE is up to you, whichever one you are comfortable. We talked about this now. I said for Python, I use PyCharm. But if you prefer working with VS Code, some people swear by VS Code, that's fine. But me, I don't use VS Code for Python projects. I prefer working with PyCharm for Python. So it's up to you. We talked about setting up your IDEs. You can also work with in the interactive Python shell if you want. You can use Notepad++ if you want, but I think it's easier if you use an IDE so that you can easily make changes to the code and run them without much hullabaloo.
Sir, sir, can I speak, sir?
Go ahead, please, sir.
Do you expect us to open our what's it called? Environment, virtual environment to do that?
You haven't set up your IDE to. You're supposed to have set up your IDE.
Okay. I'm
You
not
can
sure my
use that
videos
same. You
already.
can use that same virtual environment, or you can create a separate virtual environment. The important thing is that whatever virtual environment you use should have the version of Python we talked about. It should have Langchain. It should have Langchain Ulama.
Okay, sir. Well, frankly speaking, sir, we definitely can't do this thing on CMD, I believe.
You can do it on CMD. From CMD, if you have activated the virtual environment, if you just type Python, it opens the interactive Python shell and you can write the code there. The only thing is that if you have to make a change, it's a bit more tedious than if you are in an IDE where you can just edit and still run the code.
Sir, I didn't get that, sir.
If you define a function, for example, in the interactive Python shell, if you have to change one line in that function, you have to define the entire function afresh. As against an IDE where you can go straight to that line and just make the change you want. That's why I was saying I think an IDE is preferable. But whichever one you prefer, interactive shell, Python shell is fine. Notepad Plus, if that's what you want to use, is fine. If it's an IDE, whichever one you want to use is fine.
Code already. I have
Sure,
VS Code already.
that's fine. You can use it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, someone is saying if the summarized chain is not available, does it automatically move to the sentiment chain, or both have to be available? I don't really understand what you mean by summarized chain not being available, Kenneth. Do you mean if you had not defined the summarized chain before defining the full chain? Is that what you mean? Are you there, Kenneth?
Yes, sir, please. Can
Okay.
you hear me this time?
Yes, I can hear you.
Question because of the pipe that we use. And we know that like, when we use pipe, sometimes the options that we are trying to use that might not be available for us to use. So if that specific option is not there, then we could rely on the other one. So that was why I.
In this case, these are not options. This is a chain, a sequential chain. You move sequentially through the chain. All you're doing is to pipe the output of one component in the chain to the next component in the sequence. So what I was trying to understand what you meant by being available. Are you saying what if you are when you say assuming summarization is not available, are you saying what if summarization were not defined, assuming we didn't have all this step one code here? Are you asking, would it still be possible to go ahead with defining the full chain if we had not defined summarized chain beforehand? Is that what the question you're asking? Or are you saying, what if the summarized chain did not work? What happens? I need to actually understand the exact question you're asking to guide me in answering you.
Saying, assuming if we didn't define it as you clearly
Okay.
stated. So
if you had not defined summarized chain, If you had not defined summarized chain,
and I defined
if you try to use summarized chain, if you try to compose full chain using summarized chain and sentiment chain without first defining either of these components, then you will get the same error you will get when you try to use an uninitialized variable, because essentially that variable summarized chain would not have been initialized. So Python will give you that same error that you get if you try to use an uninitialized variable in an operation. So when you're composing, the components should already exist. Otherwise, you get an error. Okay, Olarewaju, you want to speak or you want to share your screen?
Okay, sir. Either one, sir. I mean, I want to speak, but if you want me to share my screen. My question, sir, I've actually launched my VS Code, and of course, I understand you gave us the choice, sir, to choose either VS Code or PyCharm. I decided to choose VS Code due to some personal reasons, based on my research that it's easier and the likes, and it can connect to, they call it extensions and like, but I've not used it before. I found out that one can as well launch command prompts in VS Code, and also they call it terminal shell. Which one would you want us to use? Is it the command prompt inside VS Code, or they call it terminal?
It's your choice. The tool you use is your choice. For
No,
me,
I
is to
mean
get the job.
inside the VS Code, sir. Either
That's what I'm
command.
saying. It's still your choice. The tool you use is your choice. For me, is use the tool you're comfortable with. Let's get the job done.
Okay, sir. The limitation you mentioned in CMD, the black CMD, would it also come here in VS Code command CMD?
If you're launching the CMD from VS Code, it's the same CMD.
Okay.
You're launching the CMD terminal from VS Code, it's that same CMD terminal.
Okay.
And somebody is asking if you can use Jupyter Notebook. Yes, you can use Jupyter Notebook, but is that actually what you want to use? I think you should use an actual IDE and write code. This is not, it's like you should be able to build agents that you will deploy. You should be able to build agents that you will deploy. So I would prefer you use an actual IDE than that you use a Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab. Of course, you can use Jupyter Notebook if you want, but I would prefer you use an IDE.
I'm sorry for asking too many questions, so an apology to anybody. So
Questions cannot be too much, please. We are learning.
Okay, sir. Still on this CMD, because I don't know VS Code actually, but I know I will learn it. It seems you are actually suggesting that I should rather not use CMD in VS Code than go to terminal. So in that PyCharm, is there CMD there too? Can I go to PyCharm and use CMD?
Yes, you can use CMD, but my point is, if your intention is to use CMD, why fire?
No, I don't mean the CMD. I mean, I'm using VS Code now. I've seen the advantage in it, most of what I read. Can connect to different libraries, different these extension and the likes. So should I go on terminal there and be doing my thing?
My point is that if your intention is to use the CMD terminal, for example,
Yes,
why fire up the entire IDE when you can just open the lightweight CMD terminal and just use it?
Okay. So I should
If
go
all
to
you want is to use CMD, I mean, why fire up the entire IDE?
Okay. Like somebody Python powering on Anaconda for only Python. Okay. Get it. Thank you, sir.
I'm still waiting for the volunteer that Femi, you want to say something or you want to share your screen? And
I can share my screen, sir, so that I can guide you.
okay, Okay, so I will stop sharing then.
I wanted to ask a question. So
Sure.
I remember that when we were when we began, we did a setup where we actually set up a virtual environment, like installing Python and Langchain and everything. So I'm trying to see how do we connect from that folder, like connecting it to our virtual VS Code. Is that how it works?
Sure, you can do that, or you can create a fresh virtual environment from VS Code if you create a project that you want to be using for this training, or you can just connect that environment you already created from VS Code. The essence of that exercise was, one, for us, in case any of us doesn't know, we know how to create virtual environments and how to activate and deactivate them and so on. It's also for us to have one virtual environment that we could use for this training if we wish. You could use different virtual environments if you want to separate the different tasks that you do as when they are not related. You could decide to have one for class activities, one for actual work outside the class. It's your choice, but the important thing is to have the necessary dependencies installed in those virtual environments. Still waiting for somebody to share their screen so we can run the live code.
So my Zoom is coming.
Okay. Because that's the main thing we are supposed to do in this class.
I could share, but like my worry will be my probably my network being not lagging, since I do get that complaint from you a lot. But like I wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah, we understand, Kenneth. I think it's better if it's lagging for just audio, then video is going to be probably more of a problem. But nothing stops you from and that's one other thing. When we are doing this demonstration with somebody sharing their screen, everyone else should also be doing theirs on their own local systems. So it's a hands-on. It's not just watching another person's own going on. You should also try it on your own system, because by doing is by smithing that we become smiths. Larry Waju, is it coming up?
Yes. Yes, I've joined now. I just launched the Zoom. I've joined now. I'll share it right away. I just joined with my second system now. Sharing right away, sir. I'm looking for where to share. Yes. Okay, share. Share or screen. I don't know if my screen is visible now, sir.
It's coming up. It's not yet visible, but yeah, can see your screen now.
All right, sir.
It has gone off.
Is it up now?
I can't see it again. Are you speaking from a different system?
Yes, sir.
From the
I'm
one
from
you're
a
sharing?
different system. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A different system, sir. Let me reshare this. Okay. I think there's a way one can share all. Share all. I'm not seeing the option. I'm seeing.
Entire screen. Are you seeing that?
Ma?
Are you looking for how to share your entire screen?
Yes. Because
Just
okay. Okay.
I don't know what you're saying, but
Okay. Are you seeing VS Code
click on
now?
a screen where the
Yes, I can
yes,
see
yes,
VS
yes.
Code now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. So this is my screen, sir. This is my agentic. So I don't know where I should go, sir.
You need to open a Python file. That's where you write the code now.
Okay. New file, sir.
It's not a text file, it's a Python file that who already has their IDE set up.
Okay.
So you know something. You like let me give it a shot. If it comes fine, if it doesn't, then maybe like the rest of the guys could take it along.
Let me stop sharing then.
Yes, please.
Now, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Okay, so let's. Okay, so please, so what should we do next?
Okay. I think I should copy this code and paste it. So you can just copy it into just a moment so you don't have to type it all afresh.
Okay.
But remember to change okay, let me just change it before I paste. Yeah, I've pasted the code in the
Yeah. Okay, let me copy it. Let me.
you should not
Maybe
include
probably I'll
the
fix it.
wrapper. You shouldn't include the
Yeah,
wrapper.
let me fix it.
Oh, I missed the F here. Have you installed Langchain? Okay,
Yes,
I
please.
see. Okay, I see the issue. The line, the import is missed. Okay.
I think I fixed it. Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Okay, so I would like you to just let's just run the first chain, the summarized chain. Now to run, you use invoke just as I have the invoke full chain, right? So let's just run only summarized chain. Let's just invoke summarized chain alone. We can use the same input.
Uh,
Yeah, you're running the entire script. It's fine. Oh,
Okay,
it has
the
chat
chat.
chat
Okay.
open llama. It should be chat o llama.
Chat.
The model definition.
Okay.
Line
Chat
7.
llama.
No, just delete open. It's chat o llama, not chat open o llama. Delete
Okay.
open.
Sure. Cool. Connection.
Are you serving o llama? Do o llama serve?
Now let's give it some time for it to kick in. Wow.
That model is less than a gig.
Hmm.
Yeah, you have it.
Yeah, yes, I have it. I just wanted to be sure.
Okay, while we're waiting, what I would like us to do is one, we invoke when this is done, we invoke maybe you could create two other versions of this code, right? In one version,
Hmm.
we just invoke um summarize chain. Instead of invoking full chain, we invoke only summarize chain. So where we have result equals full chain dot invoke, what we should have is result equals summarize chain dot invoke. That way we see the output of summarize chain so that we understand what summary exactly was fed into sentiment chain to get the final output of the full chain.
Okay.
And while we are going at it, I would like you all individually to also try running these two chains separately, run them without the string output parser, so that helps you to see the difference in the output with and without the string output parser. That way you understand exactly what the string output parser is doing in that chain. I don't need to paste the updated code. You can do it yourself. I've already told you what to do. You already have that code, right? All you need to do is where you have full chain dot invoke, you do summarize chain dot invoke. That's all. That way, what you're executing is just the summarize chain, but do that, make that as a copy of this so that, because if you change this one now, it affects what you're already running. What I had I would have said was have all of them running that same script, but I don't know how slow that would be on your machine. I'm able to run summarize chain separately.
And
Has it?
please, please provide a summary. So let me.
Okay. You see why I was trying to have us run summarize chain separately, so that we're sure that there's actually a summary. If there's a summary, then we know that sentiment chain is hallucinating. If there's no summary, then we know that summarize chain has an issue.
So invoke, summarize.
Yeah, summarize chain. No, just instead of full chain, replace full chain with summarize chain.
Okay.
Invoke is a method, so you need to run it on an instance of. Okay, are other people running this on their own systems? Has anybody's system given us a different response? Okay, David, but are you currently trying executing the code? Are you waiting for the response, or you have not started? Okay, okay, that's fine.
Okay, so he said, please provide me with the context you like me to summarize. Okay, I need to test to be able to create a summary for you.
That means this is full hallucination. What is the context size in your Olama installation? But then the text is small enough that even with the smallest context windows, it should be able to run. I would have said let's try a bigger model, but I don't know how long we'll wait. Maybe can we try Gemma 2B where you have Gemma 3.1B is just the
Okay.
model name. We just change it to Gemma 2.2B because that is a bigger model, about twice the size.
Please, Kenneth, can you paste the updated code on source code on inbox?
Okay. I have.
All right, thanks.
Is your machine fast, David? It seems mine is trying to disgrace me today.
It's definitely going to take more time than it took for the smaller model. This one is about twice the size, so it's going to definitely take more time. But I just want to, I know that I also encountered this hallucination on my own system with, depending on the prompt, with Gemma 3.31b, depending on the prompt. But when I used bigger models, I didn't get that.
Hmm.
Okay, one other thing we should all do is, let's bear in mind that going forward, we are going to be having live code sessions in our classes. So let's just prepare beforehand.
Okay,
Okay.
so you said this statement describes a film that is visually impressive but lacks a compelling narrative or plot.
Okay, what's the actual text that was summarized?
So the movie had a stunning visual but a very weak storyline.
Now, was this actually a summary? It's not just this question is not just for Kenneth, it's for all of us. Look at the text that was summarized and look at the summary that it gave us. Is that actually a summary?
Okay, so from my side, I think that this is not a summary. This has even like prolonged the text to
Okay,
the
and
original one, if you even like compare it to it.
okay, does anybody have a contrary opinion?
Now, this is the sentiment answer, not summarize.
No, this what you ran is the summarized chain. So the response there is from the summarized chain.
But this
What
is not a summary.
So my question is, looking at the text that was to be summarized and the output from the LLM that's supposed to be, okay, from the chain in this case, that's supposed to be a summary of that text. Did the chain actually summarize that text? Okay, David says no, it didn't. Is there anyone who thinks that summarized chain in this case actually generated a summary of the text? Okay, Olanrewaju, you go ahead.
I'm sorry, sir. I wasn't actually following. I was trying to fix my VS Code issue. So I got what you meant that time, that Python. Maybe you meant that I should have entered the Python interpreter from VS Code in my virtual environment, sir. So I'm there and I have activated the virtual environment and I've entered the Python interpreter shell. So I ran the first line, which is from Langchain call output parser import string output parser. So the error it gave me is that core Panatic version 1 functionality is not compatible with Python 3.14 or greater. Is there an error?
That is not an error.
Okay.
That will be a warning. Is it an error or a warning?
Well, it didn't bring an error, but I didn't expect it to bring such stories. That's what I'm wondering. It says
Because I'm
okay, user
asking,
warning.
is it an
User
error
warning.
or a warning? Okay.
It says user warning. Okay.
So the question I'm asking is, from what Kenneth has executed here that is showing on the screen, the model, the summarized chain was given the text. The movie has stunning visuals, but a very weak storyline. And the prompt is to summarize that text. And the output from the chain is, this statement describes a film that is visually impressive, but lacks a compelling narrative or plot. And my question is,
It's not a
this
summarizer.
summary, okay,
Yes,
so
it's
it's
actually
not,
generating something else.
well, it's still saying the same thing as the original text, just that summary implies making it more concise, but in this case,
Shorter.
it's even more verbose.
Yes, sir.
Now, okay, so I guess we all agree, as we will all agree that the output is even more verbose. So the chain didn't actually do a summary like expected. So the question is why? Why did this chain not give us a summary? Why is it giving us a more verbose output?
Maybe because we didn't specify the token or the length it should. But
So we
naturally, it should
didn't
be smart enough to
specify the output constraints.
something like that, sir.
So you see what we see where those characteristics of good prompting coming. We just said summarize this text. We didn't put any restrictions on the output. And that's why the text already is already short. If you had a longer text, it probably would do some summary, but what level of summary, you don't know. So it's always good to provide constraints on your output. Okay. Now we are sure that Gemma 2.222b is giving us a summary. So Kenneth, could you run the entire chain now, full chain? Let's see what it will say the sentiment is. So what I would like you all to do is, like I said, try to run these chains without the string output parser, so that you see when you run it with and without the string output parser, you'll be able to understand exactly what value the string output parser is giving. That's one. Two, try to test these chains with different texts of different lengths, texts of containing different sentiments. Try to test them and see whether the chains are actually giving good, correct outputs. Also, try to run it with different models as much as you can, and try to compare the model outputs for different input texts. That's for you to do on your own. If anybody has been able to, if anybody's system is faster and they have been able to get an output for the full chain running the full chain, please let the person indicate. Yeah, I was asked. Okay, I think we had already answered that question. We didn't specify the we didn't provide the constraints in the output. You could have said summarize in just 3 words, for example. Even though being that specific is not such a good prompting technique for an LLM because LLMs have an inherent weakness to counting. So it's usually good to give it like a range to make it a bit flexible, but whatever the case, you should provide some constraint in the output length, in the output format. Yes, Olare, what you go ahead, please.
Yeah, so but one should expect some basic level of reasoning, even though it's not a reasoning model. At least something is long, say summarize. I expect it to check, okay, how many words are here? I should make it a little, maybe one word less or 3, 4, 5 less. Seems it's not reasoning well.
Well, reasoning in the context of LLMs is not exactly the same as what you are the context you're using it here, right? But yes, one would expect that it should understand that when you say summarize, you're expecting shorter texts than the original text. But then you see that it's not able to do that. So it's part of what we need to understand. I know we said something like that earlier in the training. We need to understand the capabilities, what an LLM can do, and what their limitations, so that we know how that understanding helps us in crafting better prompts. Okay,
Yes.
Kenneth.
So please, now we still had, please provide a summary.
Okay, that means there is some issue in
Yeah.
the in the chain. Okay. Just trying to look through the code. I think we should specify the constrain the string output parser. How do we have do I have your permission to what's it called? Do I have your permission to
1 hour extra, sir.
no, we can't do that. Let me even run this on my computer. Yeah, I have this.
Okay, then I'll stop sharing then.
No, I'm not sharing my screen because I have a whole lot open that I can't close, and I also can't afford to.
To show to the world.
Yeah. Let me copy the code.
I have a question, sir.
Go ahead,
If I
please.
may ask. Okay,
Yeah.
so I heard somewhere that a good prompt is almost 40% of we building a good agentic MI system. And I want to ask, how true is that?
Yeah, the prompt is the LLM, the model is the brain of the agent. And so that brain, making it, how do I say, that the prompt is what drives the brain. So the better your prompt, the better your prompts, the better your agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So prompting is very, very important. I mean, the prompt actually enables you to solve the problem. If your prompt is not good, then you're not going to get good output from your model. If you don't get good output from your model, your agent isn't going to cut it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Has anybody been able to get um has anybody been able to get an output?
No, I've not been able to. We found out that it's not the feedback I'm actually getting is that this Langchain core.prompts, the import, is not actually being imported. So I have to like download Langchain core or install Langchain core.
Is your virtual environment activated?
Yes, sir, it's activated.
Had you installed Langchain in that virtual environment?
Yes, I've installed Langchain. Only the chat Ulama seems to be imported, but this Langchain core is not, and the output.
If you have installed Langchain in the virtual environment you're using, assuming you're using environment, then Langchain core comes with Langchain. That's why I'm asking.
I actually have, but I don't know why it's not being
Are,
imported.
are you sure that you're using the virtual environment?
Yes, sir. I seed it into the virtual environment, the folder, and they activated it.
Can you check trying to see does Langchain provide a CLI? I'm just trying to check. Langchain no, you need to import it. Because if you're unable to import Langchain core, it implies that Langchain is not available in that environment. That's just the implication.
I have Langchain server here. You can see Langchain server in the scripts
Langchain
folder.
server.
Let me check the library.
But
Yeah, Langchain. There's Langchain core here, Langchain rock, Langchain Ulama. I have it here. They're inside the library folder.
I did he start the server? Maybe if he forgot to start the Ulama server.
He's talking about Langchain core, not Langchain Olama.
Okay. Okay. Sir, please. I also tried to Now with the summary, I now try to add a constraint to it. So maybe I said summarize it into 3 words, and
Okay.
now we have visual stunning story. So yeah.
Sorry. Let me get.
So now you could continue with David.
Okay. What did he give you? Visually stunning story week. Now you have an actual summary, right? But with this,
Yes.
does
Yes.
the
Yes.
entire chain execute?
And now with the main one, it doesn't.
No, I mean
With this,
with the updated prompts,
yes.
the text you. Okay, I think I have to copy my
Are
own
you there,
text.
sir?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is for summary, the summary chain. I'm talking of for the full chain. The issue is that we are having an issue. We're having an issue the with the summary chain outputs getting piped into the sentiment chain.
Mm.
I'm distracted. Okay, I see. I think I should stop the recording at this point,
Mm.
and then we continue so that we don't just go